ESPN News Network. John Butchergrass here in Bristol, Connecticut. As you have just seen here, Mike Tyson has had his boxing license revoked by the five-man Nevada State Athletic Commission. That means he will not fight in this country and likely nowhere for at least a year. He can reapply for that boxing license, as we mentioned, in a year, but if it's denied then, he must wait another year to reapply. He's been fined the maximum 10% of his purse in the June 28th fight against Evander Holyfield. That comes out to $3 million for Tyson. So the June 28th bite of Evander Holyfield's ears by Mike Tyson has resulted in the revoking of his boxing license and a $3 million fine. More reaction coming up from Las Vegas on the ESPN television networks. Well, as you have seen live here on ESPN, ESPN2, the ESPN News Network, Mike Tyson has had his boxing license revoked. He must pay a $3 million fine and pay all legal fees concerning today's hearing as well. Now the question as we go to Las Vegas and joined by Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein as he reapplies in a year, how easy it will be for him to get that license back. Charlie, take it away.
John, I guess that's the question everybody's going to be asking themselves over the days ahead. One of the things I think, Al, that we have to start addressing first is that the Nevada State Athletic Commission threw the book at Mike Tyson as hard as it legally could have today by revoking the license, fining him 10% of his purse from the fight. That was $3 million. Plus, they're assessing Tyson the costs of the hearing. So they did legally as much as they could have done today.
Yeah, and they wanted to make a symbolic statement with the revocation as opposed to a suspension, and their attorney made it quite clear to them what the difference was between these two. And also, they tried, I think, to ask a lot of questions about the difference between suspension and revocation to make the point that in 1 year, Mike Tyson would have the ability to come back to this commission to get his license back. Whether he will is another question. My own personal guess is he would have an excellent chance, assuming he doesn't go abroad to fight or doesn't do anything that would make them feel he shouldn't have that license back.
And I would tend to disagree with you. I think Mike Tyson's going to have a very difficult task a year from now for several reasons, unless he is able to show some legitimate contrition, show that he has been cured of whatever these demons are that caused him to do what he did. And as you point out, if he goes overseas and tries to fight somewhere, try to circumvent the laws, they are not going to be favorably disposed to doing all of this. And I think maybe the most interesting comment made at the hearing this morning was by Jim Thomas, the attorney for Evander Holyfield, who said the penalty phase today by the Athletic Commission, it was incumbent upon them, if they were going to maintain any source of legitimacy about the sport of boxing, they had to throw the book at Tyson today. A year from now, if it's perceived that maybe it wasn't the book, that might actually fall right back in their faces.
Well, I think my statement is predicated on the fact that Mike Tyson, A, doesn't go and fight overseas, that B, he doesn't contest this in a way during the course of that year that will make the commission feel that they've been shown up in any way. But if Mike Tyson goes along with things and shows even in any sense of contrition, what I believe is that he has a shot at getting back in a year. I don't think it's a lead pipe cinch. I thought it was intriguing that his attorneys made a little more of an argument today than Mike Tyson indicated they were. Oscar Goodman, a well-known attorney here, and his partner, indicated that Nevada always has a history of being an independent state and independent thinkers, whereas he wanted to get the idea across to the commissioners they shouldn't be swayed by outside media interpretations or what anyone is saying around the country, or even citizens that may have opinions that don't bear on this. So they made it clear they were trying to get them to make an independent decision. They made an independent decision, a strong one, saying that they had to revoke Mike Tyson's license.
What now for boxing, and then specifically the state of Nevada? Everybody talks about the cost of doing business when Mike Tyson is here. He brings in tens of millions of dollars for people who come in from out of town, the pay-per-view business and so on. What kind of a hit from a financial point of view does boxing take, or does it?
I don't think that, I'm one of those people that thinks this is not that significant a deal for boxing. I think it is significant, of course, it's a big story. But the fact of the matter is Mike Tyson was gone for years, the sport went on. I think that what will happen here is there are other situations emerging, not the least of which is Evander Holyfield. this is a term he likes, he's been reborn in every conceivable way. He is now a better fighter than he was 2-3 years ago. He's a bigger draw, which he should have been 5 or 6 years ago. And he's a man who, as we've seen by even his actions now, going over and having a meeting with Mandela and doing the things that heavyweight champions do when they want to be bigger than the sport. He's doing all those things. He is a marquee guy for the sport. And let's not forget all those guys in the lower weight divisions that all the mainstream media forgets to mention when they talk about boxing, whether it's Oscar De La Hoya or any of the other great champions out there. Boxing is alive, well, and kicking. And whether Mike Tyson's gone for a year or not, it's still going to be there.
It's interesting that on this day when Mike Tyson was having the book thrown at him by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Evander Holyfield is in South Africa meeting with kids, and just the other day with Nelson Mandela. And so now the question is, what about Mike Tyson? He missed 3 years, the prime of his career, on a rape conviction in Indianapolis. Now he's going to miss another year. He turned 31 last week. The earliest he can come back is the age of 32. His skills were diminishing anyway. I mean, I guess the question is, have we seen certainly the best of Mike Tyson and perhaps even the last of Mike Tyson?
I don't think we've seen the last, but I thought we saw the best of him even before this second Holyfield fight. He is the kind of fighter, George Foreman said it best, he described him as an energy fighter. His style is best suited to the 20s in terms of his age rather than the 30s. It's going to be very difficult for Mike Tyson to come back, even if he gets his license back a year from now. He will fight again, I believe that. It'll be very difficult for him to recapture what he had before. Remember, he had that long layoff, and now another year layoff will make it very difficult for him. There is no question, and this is a part that I agree with you, and the fact that it's a revocation as opposed to a suspension, and he's not assured of getting that license back in a year, it places great pressure on Tyson to whether to live up to what he said in his apology, that he won't try and fight anywhere, he'll just accept his punishment, or does he try and do something different?
Well, that is the point. I think that's going to be really the unfolding story over the next year. What kind of a citizen is Mike Tyson going to be? Is he going to live his life within the framework of the laws of this country? Is he going to seek psychological help, as many have suggested, because of the action that he took in the ring on June 28th? Mike Tyson, I guess if we were going to give a suggestion to Tyson and his camp, and I guess we're probably the last two they'd want to hear from anyway, lay low, live by the letter of the law, and try to regain and recoup what you once had.
Yeah, I want to point out also, though, this is a boxing commission up here, so all they're supposed to decide in the year it was whether Mike Tyson can get in a ring and not foul somebody. And I know all those things come to bear, but that's also where people start to feel like Mike Tyson could be persecuted. I think what they need to find out a year from now is, will Mike Tyson get in a boxing ring and stand a pretty good chance of not biting someone's ear or doing something untoward that will hurt the sport or will hurt that boxing event?
And so to wrap it up here from Las Vegas, the Nevada State Athletic Commission did as much as it could legally have done to Mike Tyson today. It revoked his license for a minimum of 1 year. He can come back and reapply for that license within a year. There's no certainty he'll get it. They fined him 10% of his purse, roughly $3 million, and they assessed him the cost of the hearings this morning. So the Nevada State Athletic Commission delivered a KO of Mike Tyson here at the Las Vegas City Hall. We are live along with Al Bernstein. I'm Charlie Steiner. Let's go back to the studio.
Jerome Jaranovich, CNN Headline Sports. With his boxing future on the line and Nevada Athletic Commissioner stating they wanted to hear from him directly, Mike Tyson flew to New York today and didn't even bother showing up at the meeting in Las Vegas that decided the rest of his career. Perhaps he knew what the commissioners were already prepared to do. They revoked his boxing license and fined him the maximum 10% of the $30 million purse, or $3 million. Tyson will now not be able to box in the United States again until his license is reinstated, which he can apply to have done on an annual basis.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Tyson's boxing career could be on the ropes. Today, the Nevada State Athletic Commission revoked his boxing license and fined him $3 million. Tyson was penalized for biting Evander Holyfield's ears during a title bout last month in Las Vegas. He has publicly apologized, but he was not present at today's hearing.
He has confidence that the system will work. He knows that for 13 years in the ring, he brought nothing but credit to the boxing profession. When he lost his fights, He went to his opponent and shook the opponent's hand. He was a gentleman. He remains a gentleman today. He maintains his dignity today. He has confidence that you will do the right thing at the conclusion of the presentation of the evidence in this hearing.
Mr. Goodman has stated that he's lived here for 32 years and Nevada has always done the right thing. The Attorney General, who's lived here even longer than that, knows that the commission will do the right thing. And we believe that the right thing in this instance is to hand down the maximum penalties, revocation and a 10% fine, for one simple reason. The events that took place on June 28th demand the maximum penalty that can be given in an administrative hearing.
Tyson can apply for reinstatement of his license in 1 year. He will not be able to box in the U.S. during that time because federal law requires other states to honor the suspension. He could fight overseas, but since he's on probation for a rape conviction, he can't leave the country.
See you next year, Mike. Maybe. I'm Anthony Keith James, and this is See It in Headline Sports. Mike Tyson took a chunk out of Evander Holyfield. The Nevada Athletic Commission took a bigger chunk out of Tyson. Wednesday, they threw the book at him. The former heavyweight champ was banned from boxing and had his license revoked, fined $3 million, and has to pay court costs.
As far as I'm concerned, the right decision was the decision after the match. He was disqualified. He lost the title. He lost the ability to call himself the champion of the world. That was punishment enough from my perspective.
It seems to me that the commission took its work very seriously, worked hard at this, and did the best they could to balance all of the various considerations and come up with an appropriate decision in light of the legal constraints that were on them.
Tyson can apply for reinstatement in a year, but officials say the punishment could extend well beyond 1 year and could amount to a lifetime ban. Tyson would have trouble fighting outside the country as he still has 20 months remaining on his probation for a rape conviction.
I move that Michael Gerard Tyson's boxing license be revoked.
I think what we did was the right thing to do.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the right decision was the decision after the match.
It doesn't matter who it is. You got to do what's right for the sport.
And further move that Michael Gerard Tyson pay administrative fine in the amount of $3 million.
The only time he is under discipline and under control, emotional control, is in training and in fighting. And they're taking that away from him.
Mike needs boxing as much as boxing needs Mike.
And that he also be assessed for all costs of these proceedings.
No man, no one individual is bigger than the sport.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I only ask that it's not a penalty for life. For this mistake, I will instruct my managers and promoters to waive any time restrictions so that the penalty can begin immediately, so that I can show the boxing fans of the world that I'm willing to accept what I have coming to me.
Today, the Nevada Athletic Commission handed down its judgment, a 1-year revocation of Mike Tyson's boxing license. Good evening, everyone. Alongside Reese Davis, I'm Jack Edwards. Tyson loses the maximum 10% of his earnings, about $3 million, from his performance on Bite Night against Evander Holyfield.
And Tyson must also pay the cost of today's proceedings. He can apply for reinstatement in a year. There's no guarantee that Tyson will regain permission to fight then. Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein were in Las Vegas for Tyson's day of reckoning.
It took less than an hour for the Nevada State Athletic Commission to knock down the already fallen ex-champ. While the state asked for the maximum, which is precisely what Tyson ultimately received, and the defense asked for leniency, it was Evander Holyfield's attorney who set the tone for the hearing.
We think it is incumbent upon this commission to make a strong and clear statement to the world that this is, in fact, a true and legitimate and honorable sport, and that certain acts are simply categorically and absolutely unacceptable and will be met with appropriate sanctions.
The vote to revoke Tyson's license was unanimous, 5-0, and a message was sent well beyond the four sides of the boxing ring.
Although there was significant public sentiment to the contrary, I legitimately believe the commission rendered a fair decision, and based on our statutes, they handed down the maximum penalty that they could, and I believe that was probably appropriate under the circumstances.
Anybody who comes into this state to box
is going to have to live by our rules and regulations.
We did not recommend anything. I think basically it's up to Mr. Tyson, it's up to his followers, it's up to him to, I believe, do what he feels is best for him in his future.
I'm comfortable, not that I wanted to see Mike punished. I'm not comfortable that I wanted to see any pain or money taken away from him. I'm comfortable that there was a sincere effort on the part of this commission to be just. And if they maintain that kind of thinking, when Mike comes back before them and they have that same kind of sincere, God-fearing spirit, then Mike will have an opportunity, because I believe Mike will rise to the occasion and prove to them that he's worthy to be given a consideration again.
But Oscar Goodman, Tyson's high-profile local attorney, thought that the punishment was harsh and to the end attempted to rationalize his client's behavior in the ring.
As a street guy, which he is, he's not a sophisticate, he did what another street guy would do. He's in the ring, he's about to be butted again, it looked like to me. He puts his head down and he grabs a hold of the guy's ear. So what? I'm not saying he shouldn't be punished. And Tyson says he should be punished, but not to the extent where you rob him of his livelihood.
Joined now by Al Bernstein. And Al, your reaction to the ruling today?
You know, I think the Nevada Boxing Commission sought very much to give stern punishment to Mike Tyson, but what they also thought would be perceived as fair punishment. Part of the reason they went for revocation of his license instead of just suspending him for a period of time was, I think, to say, we don't think you should have a boxing license right now because of what you did. But it clearly was not a banishment for life, as some people had wanted them to give, because he can come back in a year and he can shoot for that license again, or in 2 years if they don't give it to him in a year. And so I think to a great extent, though some will argue, they did walk that fine line between stern punishment and fair punishment.
Let it be understood, however, by revoking the license and fining him the 10% of the $30 million purse from the fight on June 28th, it was the strongest possible punishment the Nevada State Athletic Commission could have given under the circumstances. What now, then, for Mike Tyson?
Well, you know, it's interesting. One of the things that already is intriguing is he didn't quite live up, or his representatives didn't live up to his promise to throw himself at the mercy of the court, so to speak, in this case, the commission. His attorney, Oscar Goodman, and you saw in some of those comments, still trying to kind of put a spin on his behavior. And even though they made it clear during the proceedings that Mike Tyson believes he should throw himself in the mercy of the court, but we feel obligated to make these arguments on his behalf, arguments were still being made. It'll be interesting to see over the next year or so whether Tyson does keep a low profile. He has boxed himself into a PR and marketing corner that he cannot escape. He must, I think, accept this punishment and say, I'm going to go on from here a year from now and perhaps try and get my license back.
And in all likelihood, Al and I will be standing right out here a year from now. For Al Bernstein, Charlie Steiner, ESPN, Las Vegas.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. It's tough to compare Tyson's banishment to lengthy suspensions in other sports, but look at how some of the more severe sentences stack up. But I should remind you, in these cases, once the time was served, return was guaranteed, and that's not the case with Tyson. Jack.
After the suspension came down, heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield was asked for his reaction. In the midst of his goodwill tour of South Africa, Holyfield pursed his lips and said only no comment. Holyfield's attorney said Tyson should be handed the maximum penalty to send a message that boxing adheres to its rules and regulations. The CEO of the MGM Grand, the hotel which is in partnership with Tyson, said that the decision was appropriate and that his company would comply with the ruling. Considering that highly ranked heavyweights rarely fight more than twice a year, is this suspension analogous to suspending a starting pitcher for 5 games, the effect being that he misses only 1 or 2 turns in the rotation? More reaction now from the boxing community.
Does boxing need Mike Tyson? Well, let's just say that Mike Tyson is an intricate part of boxing. He is a big name in the sport. So I think that Mike needs boxing as much as boxing needs Mike.
It's for Mike to assume some responsibility here, to assume some accountability here, and basically get his life back on track again.
It was a situation that I think the whole world was really shocked about, and I know I was shocked, but you know, he said he's going to seek some help, so maybe that's enough time for him to do so.
Boxing is an individual sport, and he should take he should be responsible for what he did. You know, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is going to take action, and they should enforce, you know, that action of what he did, because it was wrong. It was wrong. People are blaming it on boxing. Blame it on Mike Tyson.
Since the decision came down early this afternoon, ESPN Sports Zone has been conducting a poll at the website. There were 20,210 votes in just the first 5 hours, more than half of those respondents saying that the punishment is not harsh enough. More than 1 in 3 believe the punishment is just. About 1 in 8 believes the punishment is too harsh. Reese?
Recapping our top stories, today was Judgment Day for Mike Tyson. The Nevada State Athletic Commission handed down a stiff sentence. Tyson's boxing license was revoked. He can't apply to be reinstated after 1 year. The commission also took 10% of his $30 million purse from the Holyfield fight and charged him for the cost of today's proceedings. Here's some reaction to the verdict.
We think it is incumbent upon this commission to make a strong and clear statement to the world that this is, in fact, a true and legitimate and honorable sport, and that certain acts are simply categorically and absolutely unacceptable and will be met with appropriate sanctions.
As a street guy, which he is, he's not a sophisticate, he did what another street guy would do. He's in the ring, he's about to be butted again, it looked like to me. He puts his head down and he grabs a hold of the guy's ear. So what? I'm not saying he shouldn't be punished. And Tyson says he should be punished, but not to the extent where you rob him of his livelihood.
If you'll pardon yet another biting metaphor, boxing had no choice but to bite one big hand that feeds it by revoking Mike Tyson's license to fight. Even though Tyson is likely still the sport's biggest draw, banishing him was boxing's only chance to spare what's left of its reputation. Even so, boxing will go on without Mike Tyson. The question, how will Mike Tyson be able to go on without boxing? That's the subject of tonight's cover story.
The teacher would give me assignment to do the book. He would rather read the boxing books all about boxers. He would read that. He would just put that aside. He said, I don't want that. I'm not going to make a living from that. I'm going to make a living from boxing.
Boxing was a ladder that pulled him out of the ghetto, that pulled him out of crime, that pulled him through life, that opened up a door of possibility for him. It was through boxing that Mike found his way into life and found a way that he could succeed.
And if he remains dedicated, interested, and without any distractions, I believe that eventually he will go down in history as the greatest heavyweight champion we've ever had.
Since he took up the sport at age 12, boxing has been Mike Tyson's meal ticket, his passion, his salvation. Now for the second time in 5 years, Tyson faces a prolonged absence from the ring and the emotional void left by life without boxing.
I suspect that he's going to have a very hard time dealing with the fact that he's no longer the prince of the boxing universe. I think life is going to be hellish for Tyson because his identity's been so tied up with being a fighter, and where once he was proclaimed the baddest man on the planet, and given the deference that that kind of reputation gains you, now he's a subject of ridicule.
Boxing was the only thing that gave him that control. Now that control is taken away from him. So you should expect Tyson not to behave that well without boxing, because the only time he is under discipline and under control, emotional control, is in training and in fighting. And they're taking that away from him.
When a fighter is training all his life, and that's the only thing he does is fight, it's like taking away your kid or something, you know? It's very difficult. It's going to be difficult for him.
Tyson's resiliency has been tested before when he spent 3 years in an Indiana prison serving a rape conviction sentence.
I always stand upright under any kind of adversity. That's when I'm at my best.
He is a strong-willed young man, and no matter what type of challenge Mr. Tyson faces, I believe Mr. Tyson will be able to take those responsibilities and turn them around, as he has done so many more times than you realize and can believe.
Mike is an adapter. Mike is a human being, and I believe there's life after boxing for Mike, and I believe there's a greater life after boxing for Mike.
But contrary to his last boxing sabbatical, Tyson must adjust outside the structured and disciplined prison environment. Tyson claims to have found peace through a new and stable personal life. That peace will be tested as he aims to occupy his idle time and resist the temptations that lie outside the ring.
There's a great potential for any and all of these athletes that once they've finished their successful endeavors, if athletes or unfortunately are finished because of their activities within the field of play, can often return back to their roots.
The question is, what is he going to be able to find that's going to keep him out of trouble? This is a problem with all fighters. They're usually not interested in anything but their sport and in making a lot of money.
Mike trained the whole time he was in prison. He ran, he exercised, he did push-ups. Mike has a strong interest in reading, and he has a strong interest in history. He likes working with young people. I don't think he'll be sitting there idly twiddling his thumb, waiting for the time to go by. I think that he will be investing his time and investing it very, very wisely, because he is a very intelligent and very talented young man.
Tyson could take those talents overseas. Under a new federal law, the Nevada State Athletic Commission's ban must be observed by every other state in the union. If Tyson wishes to fight overseas, 2 hurdles must be cleared. First, in accordance with his probation, he must get permission to travel outside the country from Indiana trial judge Patricia Gifford. Second, there must be a location willing to accept him.
I don't think that we take a chance in having Tyson fight there when he's suspended in the United States. I think it would be politically incorrect to do that.
There will be a fight somewhere. You'll find an island. They'll find some banana republic. They will find, they'll go to the North Pole if Don King has to promote a Mike Tyson fight.
Place may not be as important as time, and it's running out on Tyson. At 31, the pursuit of the lofty aspirations held by Tyson and his late mentor, Cus D'Amato, may be all but over.
He knows that in terms of boxing history, his place is, the carpet's been pulled out from under him. And because of that, there's going to be, I think, some kind of violent spark that's going to be struck somewhere in the not-too-distant future.
If Tyson did not get an awakening from this experience, then he's finished. No matter what happened to him. If he didn't learn from this experience, he might as well quit boxing.
Perhaps this is a wake-up call for him to take more responsibility in his own career and give some direction to it, because Mike is highly intelligent and highly capable of giving those directions and giving instructions.
I'm going to survive regardless of whatever my situation I deal with. I'm always going to survive. Only reason I can't survive is if I'm dead or something, but I'm going to survive.
Joined again by ESPN boxing analyst Al Bernstein. And Al, given today's events, we've already seen Mike Tyson's skills deteriorate, or a deterioration of them in the last few years. How detrimental will this layoff be to him?
Well, it'll be at least a year, because he can't come back to try and get his license given back to him until a year has gone by. That year, and then you have to add another couple of months while the system goes through its paces and while he creates another fight. I think it's going to be really damaging to him, and I think this is a very real punishment, even if it is just a year or 15 months. Mike Tyson's skills were eroding even before he went to prison. Then he had the long layoff, came back. He really wasn't the same fighter he was before, and we saw that exposed when he fought Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson is a style fighter. There's a certain style he has to fight, and George Foreman called him an energy fighter. That was a very good description of him. He's in his 30s now, will be almost in his mid-30s when he comes back. It's going to be very difficult for Mike Tyson to get the skill level back that he had before.
Is there any possibility now of a Tyson-Holyfield rematch?
I think that has diminished a great deal. Holyfield will be maybe 35, 36 by the time Tyson could fight him. And even though Evander is reborn as a fighter, a phrase he likes, of course, I don't know if 2 more years or a year and a half even would be the time when he'd embark on training for a tough fight with Tyson. So I think the chances of a Tyson-Holyfield 3 are well under 50%.
Al, as far as a chance of Tyson fighting overseas, now he said that he would accept the commission's ruling. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he's put himself into an interesting PR and marketing corner here, because if with this revocation being indefinite, it's not a banishment for life, but it's indefinite because he doesn't know if he'll get his license back in a year. Tyson's faced with a real conundrum. If he tries to go overseas, he's got to petition the Indiana court to do that. Very unlikely, in my opinion, that they would allow that. But does he even try, knowing that that will perturb the Nevada Commission, and that would pretty much kill his chances for getting back in a year? So I don't think Mike Tyson is going to be able to do much of anything for the next year, except hope that in a year they give him his license back. If he doesn't get it back in a year, then I think you would see Mike Tyson try and take some drastic actions.
And that leads me to my next question. How devastating will this penalty be to Mike Tyson outside of the ring?
You know, Mike Tyson, I think when people speculate on how he's going to act or what he's going to do, it's really tough because he's a guy that we don't see too much of a glimpse of what he's really like in life. I'm not a person that spent a lot of time around him, but over the years I've clearly covered him many years. And I think Mike Tyson's an unpredictable guy, and you never know how something is going to affect him. Clearly, this year off could be a blessing for him. It could give him a chance to get his personal house in order, and you would hope for his sake that he would do it.
Al Bernstein from Las Vegas. Thanks a lot, Al.
Good to be with you.
His license to box has been revoked for at least a year. Mike Tyson still can drive. While the Nevada Athletic Commission was meeting in Las Vegas, the heavyweight was buying a Ferrari in New York, price tag between $200,000 and $250,000. Promoter Don King today weighed in, issuing a statement saying he would not second-guess the Nevada State Athletic Commission, but that he was going to do everything he could for Tyson in the future.
Well, somebody in Phoenix has a strange sense of humor and perhaps just a little bit too much time on his or her hands. The post office in Phoenix reports that somebody sent boxer Mike Tyson a package containing about a dozen pig's ears. The pigs were not attached, but the pig's ears were described as rather hairy and approximately 5 inches long. Postal workers say the unusual package was properly addressed and had correct postage, always important. So the post office accepted them and sent them to Tyson in the mail. With Tyson's license revoked, he can't box, and Evander Holyfield now getting his ear healed up, Iron Mike now has something else to munch on.
Collectors will buy anything, anytime, for virtually any price. Collector Barry Halper owns the shotgun with which Ty Cobb's mother shot Ty Cobb's father. A recent sports auction included hand wraps from a Jack Dempsey fight back in the 30s. And now, the ultimate. The tip of Evander Holyfield's right ear. The tip found by MGM Grand employee Mitchell Lebanati after Mike Tyson's late-night snack. It arrived at the hospital a little bit too late to be reattached. So now a sports collector has reportedly paid, what would you pay? Well, $30,000 for the most famous piece of cartilage in recent history. By the way, Holyfield will speak in front of Congress tomorrow on family matters, including the importance of fathers. Evander, back before the wind whistled through the ear, had a great match against Michael Moore, lost the IBF championship. That was back in '94. Now Moore says he's willing to fight him again, perhaps in fall of this year. Dino Duva, Moore's promoter, also chalking up Lennox Lewis against the low ball hitter Andrew Galata. You notice we haven't uttered the name Don King.
If you want to see it for yourself, cover your ears and tune in to ABC Thursday, August 14th at 10 p.m. Eastern for Tyson Holyfield 2. Sure, you know how it turns out, but now you won't have to imagine why. Skeptical. A lot of you won't believe the sun rises unless you see it yourself. Well, next Thursday night at 10, you can watch ER or you can watch The Real Thing. Tyson Holyfield 2, 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on ABC.
Boxing is unpredictable.
I gotta retaliate.
It's over.
He disqualified. He's out. You
This
win.
goes beyond reason.
Now.
Holyfield Tyson 2.
Look at me.
Thursday on ABC. See it for yourself.
The network premiere of the Holyfield-Tyson rematch appears on ABC Thursday night, August the 14th at 10 p.m. Eastern. See the most controversial fight maybe in heavyweight history. Holyfield-Tyson 2 on ABC Thursday night, August the 14th at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Boxing is unpredictable.
I gotta retaliate.
It's over.
He disqualified. He's out. You
This
win.
goes beyond reason.
Now.
Holyfield Tyson 2.
Look at me.
Thursday on ABC. See it for yourself.
But what about Mike Tyson? When he does come back, and we're assuming he will be reinstated, is he someone you would consider fighting?
Nah, I ain't gonna mess around with Mike. You know, Mike a good dude. Mike a little bit bigger than what, you know, I was trying to get into. Mike, you know, I'm not a guy who want to be just a heavyweight. You know, I'm not afraid to fight. You know what I'm saying? I'll fight Mike, but it's like that doesn't really do what I'm trying to do. That's not the accomplishment that I'm trying to make. I can fight any heavyweight champion, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, just to do it. That's not what I'm doing. You know, the only reason I want Evander, or I would pick Evander, because of the person that Evander is. Evander, like you said, Evander, Oscar De La Hoya, Roy Jones Jr. basically are the three best things going in boxing right now as far as the public can see. And it's like, if it's not one of those guys, then there's nothing into it for me. There's nothing to it for me to take that risk.
Well, this issue was brought to the forefront with Tyson's biting of Evander Holyfield. Overall, where do you think it is compared to where it was a few years ago? Is it going downhill? Is it holding?
It's on a big downhill slope right now because the heavyweight division, think about this, 2 disqualifications and 2 heavyweight championship fights. This is the only reason I'm thinking about saying, the only reason I'm considering going to fight a heavyweight, but it will have to be a legitimate heavyweight, one who I know is going to fight me until he either knocks me out or until I beat him.
Right.
That way the public doesn't get cheated. They get what they paid for. Now they're not getting what they paid for. And it didn't start with these 2 disqualifications. It started when Bruce Seldon went out there and laid down against Mike Tyson. He didn't take a punch from Mike Tyson. He laid down. He was scared. You know, you don't do stuff like that. This is the heavyweight championship of the world. You are a 215-pound guy, a magnificent figure, and you go out there and lay down? Come on, what is this world made of?
Well, Tyson did the same. He really quit on Evander. Did you think the punishment should it have been more harsh?
No, it shouldn't have been more harsh. Tyson really didn't quit on Evander, just that Tyson kind of caught up into a big thing where there's so much going on around him till I think he really can't focus on what he's really doing. Same thing I said about him a few years ago. I said he gets caught up sometime in what's going on around him, and he can't really see how to focus himself. And, you know, you feel sorry for a guy like that. I don't want to see him punished. I want to see somebody help him get better to where he can come back and provide us with the entertainment he used to provide.
We'll see the replays of Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear.
I've seen the clips probably 10 or 12 times. I haven't seen the whole fight yet. It's been taped for me, and I'm going to watch it and critique myself and see what I could have done better. But I've only seen the bite itself quite a few times because it's been on television from time to time.
Does it change your view at all the more you see it?
The only thing that I did wrong, and I made a mistake in that fight, was that when he bit him the first time, right away when I saw it was a bite, I said he bit him, he's disqualified. And I shouldn't have said that because I hadn't thought it through yet. Mark Ratner, our executive director, who's a great one, got up on the ring apron and he asked me, he says, Mills, do you want to disqualify him? And I thought, wait a minute. Let's find out where we are. So I had Flip Womansky, the doctor, came up on the ring apron. I said, Flip, take a look. I want to know how bad it is. He took a look and he came back and he says, Mills, he can fight. He can go on. I said, okay, 2 points. Going to cost you 2 points. Told Holyfield's corner it's going to cost him 2 points. Holyfield was ready to go. Put the mouthpiece back in. They went back in about 20 seconds or so. They went in close. I saw something happen. Holyfield jumped back again. And I looked around, I looked back, I saw a little mark, and then a couple of more punches, and the bell rung. And I looked at it again, I could see another bite. So I said, that's it, you're gone.
So you didn't actually see the second bite as it was taking place?
No, I had to look. I had to look around, and you could see the actual marks in the ear. Right.
And your reaction, you've seen biting before in the ring at different levels, but never like this.
I've never seen anybody get bitten. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. But I have never seen anything like this. It was bizarre. It was just outside of protocol, outside of good order, if you will.
You were shocked?
Yes, I was.
And
yes.
What'd you say to Mike Tyson?
Well, I went to the corner, and I said, that's going to cost you 2 points. And he said it was a punch. And I said, bullshit, you bit him. And so then he didn't say anything after that. Then I went back to Holyfield's corner and said, I'm taking 2. Now, Holyfield's people wanted a DQ, and you can make a big case for it.
After the first biting?
And you can make a big case for that.
So you really considered that? That could have been the call?
It could have been, and I didn't, and the way things turned out, I think it was better to let it go on and see it happen again, although you can make a hell of a case for chasing him after the first one.
Any hesitation in not disqualifying him after that second bite because of the magnitude of it? Maybe just saying, hey, I'm giving you one more warning.
No, that was it. That was it. He was gone then.
Were you Mike's reaction afterwards? He said you're out.
When I disqualified him, he didn't do anything for a minute. He stood in the corner, and Rich Giacchetti, who was a first-class corner guy, didn't say anything. They just stood there. And I walked back to the neutral corner, and I was standing there with Mark Ratner, and then Mike Tyson went kind of berserk, and he was chased across the ring, tried to get to Holyfield, and they tried to hold him back, and then things developed into kind of a melee. Now, the hotel security and the Metro Police Department of Las Vegas did a heck of a job keeping contained a situation which could have been a lot worse. So they did a good job.
Yeah, because the crowd kind of became unruly at that point as well. Any argument to the headbutting dispute that Evander Holyfield was using his head too much on Mike Tyson, because that's what his corner claimed?
Well, their styles, both of them keep their hands up high and their heads down. Their styles make for unintentional clashes of heads. That goes with the territory in boxing. I do not believe that there was an intentional headbutt. There's no question, in my view, the cut was caused by a head just like Holyfield could have been cut by Tyson for that matter, although that didn't happen. But it was unintentional, and that kind of goes with boxing, professional prize fighting, if you will, the clash of heads. So that's not an excuse.
Well, what if Tyson argued, Mills, and said, hey, my biting was unintentional, I slipped, or...
Well, he bit intentionally.
You could tell. But if the headbutting continued, even though it's unintentional, would you have to warn Evander at some point?
Well, what you do is you recognize the butt, and you say, you boys watch the heads, both of you guys, you watch the heads. Then you tell the commission, that was a butt. The reason you do that is because at the end of 4 rounds, you go to the scorecards, and whoever's ahead can win. Now, if it's an intentional butt, you cause a cut with an intentional butt, you cannot win, you lose. If the other person is behind on the scorecards, then it's called a technical draw. But you can get disqualified for an intentional butt, but that's not what happened.
You refereed, what, 97 different world title fights. In this one, you were actually a last-minute replacement because Tyson's people didn't like Mitch Halpern and complained. He was forced out. Did you have a choice about, did you want this fight when you... irony of it all?
Well, I don't broker for fights. I think it's wrong to ask for them. I don't do that. My commission assigns me. When my commission asked me would I be available, and I said, yes, I'm available if you want to assign me. So I got assigned. I think Mitch Halpern would have done an outstanding job. He's an outstanding referee. And he would have made whatever call he deemed appropriate. But as I say, I don't reject fights, and I don't broker for them. I take my assignment.
How has this changed? You've been on Larry King, you've been on Jay Leno, on Up Close. How has this changed Mills Lay in this incident?
Well, it hadn't changed me, I hope, at all. I mean, I'm still a country boy that works hard and does the best I can with what I got. But it has piqued the interest of people. But I think in a couple of weeks, I mean, it'll be just something happened yesterday.
Are you amazed, though, of the reaction to what happened in this fight worldwide? The thoughts on boxing, on Tyson, on Holyfield?
I think that the reaction has been something beyond my wildest expectations or imagination. I think the focus has been quite big. I think it will die down. But Mike Tyson is a big story. He's big in athletics. He's big in the discipline of professional prize fighting. So I think that eventually the thing will die down. But right now, it's still pretty interesting.
The Nevada Athletic Commission penalizing him $3 million, the 1-year suspension.
Well, it's not a 1-year suspension. They revoked his license. And whether or not he gets back is up to question now. The commission we have a strong commission. We have a great executive director and a strong commission. It's not written in stone that he's going to get back in a year. He's going to apply. It depends upon what he does between now and that year as to whether or not he gets back.
Would you like to see him back?
Well, that's not my call. It's the commission's call. But I do think this. I think if he gets his act squared away, tends to business, get whatever help he needs to get, and proves that he can get it together, maybe he ought to have another shot. But if he doesn't do those things, then our commission will do what I think is appropriate.
When you say help, are you talking about psychiatric help?
Well, that's what he says he needs. I don't know what his problems are. I never get close to the fighters, the cut men, the trainers, or the managers. I don't want to be close to those people because you got to make a tough call against them. You got to make the call you got to make. But Mike Tyson himself suggested that he's got some type of problem that he has to be dealt with on a psychiatric basis.
Was the punishment as harsh as it should have been?
Well, you know what? I don't know that I can answer that question fairly because as a referee, I've got no business second-guessing our commission. Our commission did what they thought they should do. The members did, and I respect that. So I don't have any comment on that.
You had worked 7 other Tyson fights, I believe, or 6?
See, I did Burbick, Tucker, Smith, Razor Ruddock 2, McNeely and Bruno. 6 other fights before this one.
And I think only 2 previous times did you have to deduct or penalize Mike Tyson, correct?
I penalized him in the Razor Ruddock fight twice. I never had to penalize him before.
And what did you notice different about Mike this time in this fight? Or did you notice?
I didn't notice anything different. I thought he was in great shape. When I gave him the instruction in the dressing room, he seemed very focused. He had his business face on. It was, I told him, I said, now, I don't want any rough stuff in there. I expect you to tend to business. And he said, yes, sir. And I expect you, when the bell rings, to stop punching and go back to your corner. He said, yes, sir. So he was very focused. I didn't say anything.
All right, we'll continue with Mills Lane. We'll ask him if Tyson Holyfield fight again, does he want to referee that bout? We'll take a look at Mills' boxing career. Also talk to him about a couple of other strange bouts that he was involved with. We're including Oliver McCall and Lennox Lewis in that group. We'll have more from Los Angeles in a moment. We have a couple of minutes left with referee Mills Lane, also a judge. I'm going to come visit you in your courtroom sometime. Can I do that?
Down.
Just kind of watch, like to see it in action. If Holyfield-Tyson fight again, would you like to officiate, referee that?
If I'm assigned. I mean, I don't broker for fights. If I'm assigned, I'd be happy to do it. Depends upon the assignment.
Would you like to see him fight again?
I don't know. I don't know if Evander Holyfield will fight him again. I'm not even sure Mike Tyson will fight again. He's not been relicensed yet. Until that happens, I don't think we know the answer to that.
Two fighters step into the ring. Anything can happen. Anything did. Holyfield-Tyson 2, next on ABC. See it for yourself.
Here is the new Kids Center. It fosters a family atmosphere.
Today, we're going to read The Rumble in the Jungle Book. See Muhammad, see George, see Muhammad clobber George.
And our children learn skills we don't know how to teach.
You got to go to the body. Then you got to work the left hook. You understand?
They're getting nutritious meals. And when your teacher's the reigning WBA champ, you got to listen, which is nice.
It's cold out. Don't forget your gloves.
Thank you. What's nice for working mothers here is the new Kids Center. It fosters a family atmosphere.
Today, we're going to read The Rumble in the Jungle Book.
And when your teacher's the reigning WBA champ, you got to listen, which is nice.
I don't care what you're seeing on TV. No biting.
Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson were scheduled to meet for the first time since their bite night in June on Saturday. The two were to appear as guests of Muhammad Ali at Ali's tribute to amateur boxing at Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky. However, instead of Tyson appearing, Evander Holyfield was greeted by a Tyson spokesman who read a statement which read that mechanical troubles with a private charter kept Tyson from making his scheduled appearance. In the statement, Tyson pledged to donate $300,000 to Ali's charity now and $300,000 more from the purse of his next fight. But the real deal was there.
I really didn't come here for him, so it really don't bother me at all. And it's possible that man could have had playing problem. That he's not here, it don't bother me. At some point in time, we still beat. And, you know, it's nothing that something have to happen, but it's okay.
Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson. Then he beat him again. He beat Foreman and Bowe, too. He beat everybody. Everybody except IBF champion Michael Moorer. Holyfield, Moorer 2, World Heavyweight Championship, one of 4 championship fights Saturday, November 8th, sponsored by Budweiser, live on pay-per-view from the Mirage. Evander, you beat everybody. Except. Call your cable or satellite company.
All right, we're wrapping up here up close with Al Bernstein. He sang the ESPN blues, and Mike Tyson's got the boxing blues. So he's on the shelf for a while. But midsummer, he's going to be able to come back if he's not riding his motorcycle on his way back. And obviously, you fully expect him to come back.
I think he'll try. I'm sure he'll look for reinstatement. And should that be denied, then he and his promoters will have to think about the possibility of going somewhere else in this world to fight, not worrying about whether he's suspended, if they can find an opponent that will go and fight him. But he'll try, I'm sure, to come back in the sport.
Do you have a hunch, a feel that they'll allow him back?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I have to tell you, I can't even give you what I think would be a good guess. Much will depend on his demeanor between now and then. And
how's it been so far in your opinion?
I guess okay. You know, I mean, he had the problem with the motorcycle, which is totally, you know, unrelated. But all in all, I mean, he's kept a fairly low profile. And if that can continue, I suspect he may get a favorable nod.
I remember we spoke when he came out of prison and said he was a changed man, and we still weren't sure how much of a changed man. Do we see much more of a change? Does he want to change? I don't know if I see that.
I don't think Mike Tyson cares one way or the other. I think it's all PR. When he gave his apology, and you know, I thought that was a monumental public relations move. So Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson. You know, and I don't think he's going to change. I don't think he's going to alter what he does. If people find what he does acceptable, at least in terms of the things he does that are not illegal, then they're going to accept him the way he is. And if they don't, then they're going to have a problem with him. But I don't. Me personally, I don't think there's anything about him that's really been radically altered.
Will he ever be the heavyweight? Will he ever be the fighter he was before?
Never. No, under no circumstances.
Do you think he'll be the champ again in the heavyweight division?
It's possible. I mean, there are 4 championships to go around, including WBO. Actually, there's probably about 8.
Right, if we make up a few.
So, in fact, I think you were a heavyweight champion in one of those organizations for just a week or so.
Sure, and I didn't even fight. It was amazing. Well, Don King, and I want to ask you about where he stands in all this. His one hope of getting back in on the as a power player is guaranteeing If the winner of Moore Holyfield fights Lennox Lewis, then the winner of that gets to fight Mike Tyson in, let's say, 99 for a big-time payday. Can that happen?
Well, it could, but Don King won't have any options left on any of those guys at that point. Main events will be the promoter of Lewis, who is also partially involved with Holyfield. Holyfield's options will be done with King by then, so King won't be able to assure himself that, although clearly, if Tyson's around, money talks, and those guys will want to fight Tyson if he has been sanctioned to fight. But will Mike Tyson even be able to get enough of a tune-up, let's say, to be ready to fight a year from now? He comes back a year from now, even if he comes back, that fight's not going to happen in 3 weeks.